Ousmane Dembele has officially won the Ballon d'Or. Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint-Germain family. We're gonna react to this quick report right here. Jamil, as we all know, the best insider at Paris Saint-Germain, tweets this. Picture of Ousmane Dembele holding the Ballon d'Or. Ascense l'Euro. Something about the Ballon d'Or. What is basically meaning by this is Ousmane Dembele has officially won the Ballon d'Or. And he's here to leak it. He's here to tell the people that Ousmane Dembele has won the Ballon d'Or. And obviously, we don't have to wait that long. Mondays in a couple of days, we'll get to see Ousmane Dembele lifting the real thing. You know, we don't have to use Grok. We don't have to use AI anymore for Ousmane Dembele with the Ballon d'Or. And it's actually great. Very happy. Very happy as a Paris Saint-Germain supporter. Very happy as a human for Ousmane Dembele because nobody deserves this more than him. I mean, what a season by Ousmane Dembele. What a season Ousmane Dembele has had. Everything he's done, huge. And you always got to look at the narratives this season. And we'll come to the competitors. We'll come to the Yamals, the Rafinhas, the Salah, the Mbappe, and debunk all of them. But we just got to look at the narrative. Ousmane Dembele, you know, his career, everything, ups and downs, tough time at Barca and everything. Came to Paris Saint-Germain, had a good first season. Then came this season. The narrative was that Paris Saint-Germain would never come closer to the UEFA Champions League now that Mbappe has left. And Ousmane Dembele was pushed into becoming the main man. And he's never been the main man in his career before. He was never the main man with the French national team, never the main man at Stade de Rennes, never the main man at Dortmund, and never the main man at Barca, apart from maybe one of Xavi's seasons. And he was pushed in to be the main man for Paris Saint-Germain. And we saw a little bit in the beginning how he struggled with it. Because, I mean, being the main man of Paris Saint-Germain, there's so much pressure on you. There's so much expectations on you. And, you know, we struggled with it a little bit in the beginning. We all remember the Girona game, the Girona miss. But then he picked it up and had one of the greatest main man seasons. I mean, if there's any player to take out and there is no treble, there is no Champions League, it's Ousmane Dembele. Take him out, there is no Champions League, there is no treble. You know, when we needed Dembouz the most, Dembouz delivered. You know, I had such a sense of security with Ousmane Dembele as my main man, which I never had with Mbappe. And I don't even think I had with Neymar. The issues with Neymar is a lot of the times he was injured, so we didn't know. He would have cooked, but Ousmane Dembele did it in every single stage. I mean, he had a GA in every single knockout stage game, apart from Brest's second leg, where he was really good and we scored 7 goals. And then Liverpool at home, which he was really good, as well as the entire team. We just couldn't take our chances in that game. But Ousmane, I mean, the Champions League is PSG, but it's a lot of it is Ousmane Dembele. And it's also the leader role he's taking. You know, Ousmane Dembele led this Paris Saint-Germain team. We all remember the pictures of him pressing. That's a leader. If you know Mbappe, if you know, you know. And now we come to the competitors. You know, every single club who has supporters and fans want to push their player to win the Ballon d'Or. Obviously, you want a player from your club to win the Ballon d'Or. It's a great achievement. It's an individual award, but sometimes we feel it's a collective award for the club. And all the clubs have been pushing. You know, Bayern tried to push Kane here and there, but them obviously losing in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, losing to PSG with Dembele scoring. Kane obviously had no chance of competing with Ousmane Dembele, even though he's been a top player this season, or the past season. Then you go to the Premier League. I mean, City, no chance pushing Erling Braut Haaland. Chelsea tried a little bit with the Palmer for that Club World Cup, but way too inconsistent. And then you have Mohamed Salah, who had a strong Ballon d'Or contention until he played Paris Saint-Germain with Ousmane Dembele. I mean, Dembele starred in both games, while Salah looked like a fraud in both games. I think he only completed 1 out of 15 dribbles against Nuno Mendes across both legs. And then obviously, even after that, another generational stinker in the Carabao Cup final versus Newcastle United. And that's where Salah Ballon d'Or ended. Why? Because it was... with more time, I understand the voters. The voters that vote for the Ballon d'Or. The voters that vote for the Ballon d'Or, majority of them are casuals. All right? So they're not going to watch 38 games in the Premier League of Salah stat padding versus Huddersfield and Norwich and Bournemouth. They're not going to watch that. They're going to watch the big games. They're going to watch PSG Liverpool. They're going to watch Inter Barca. They're going to watch PSG Arsenal. They're going to watch Madrid Arsenal. They're going to look at the big games. And what you do in the big games obviously matters much more than what you do in a small game. So it's all about big game performances. And that's why Ousmane Dembele is also the deserved Ballon d'Or winner, because when it mattered the most, the big games, that's when he pulled up. So it's really not about consistency. Not that Dembele or other players haven't been consistent. I'm just saying the priority they're looking for is your impact in big games. You will understand that even more when we come to Yamal, for example. But yeah, that's why Salah Ballon d'Or ended, because in the big moments, in the big May, couldn't do it. Same with Kane. They just couldn't do it. Then you come to La Liga. And Mbappe, we can just chalk him off immediately. Why? Because he didn't do it in the big moments. Everyone watched Madrid Atletico. Everyone watched Madrid Arsenal. And everyone saw Mbappe couldn't do it. And that's why he was never in contention. And now we come to the Barca boys. Barcelona obviously had the best season last season after Paris Saint-Germain. They won everything in their own nation, reached the Champions League semi-final, and looking really great throughout the entire tournament, especially in that group stage. And they had 2, 3. I mean, Pedri was somewhat competing for it, but I mean, I think he's not going to even be in the top 10. So it was Yamal and Rafinha pushing Dembele for the Ballon d'Or. Rafinha obviously started off the season greatly. Was the best player throughout the beginning of the season. But then started going down, both in the league and in the UEFA Champions League. And that's where it sort of went for Rafinha. Because one club can only push one player, basically. We saw when Madrid tried to do the same thing with Vini and Jude, it did not work out. And I think everyone who watched Barca Inter, which was most of football fans, understood and saw that Yamal is the main man. Or at least in that game. Or at least in those 2 legs. And that's the thing. That's why I've seen a lot of Barca fans cry about it and everything. Yes, Rafinha did it against Bayern. Rafinha did it against Dortmund in the group stages and all of that. But then when it mattered, in that Champions League semi-final, it was Yamal who had the ball. It was Yamal dribbling. It was Yamal taking the shots. So that's why the voters were like, wait, why should I vote for Rafinha? Yes, he was really great. He was so consistent this season, scored so many big goals, especially in El Clasico and everything. But it's Yamal doing everything. Even in the El Clasico straight after that, the 4-3 El Clasico, it was Yamal. But if you look at the first El Clasico, maybe second, it's Rafinha. That's the difference. So Yamal basically took the spotlight away from Rafinha, even though Rafinha had a really strong case, even against Ousmane Dembele. But it basically faded away. It was maybe Rafinha versus Dembele, and then after that tie, it became Yamal versus Dembele. Yamal basically just ate up Rafinha in those Inter games. And then now we come to Yamal's case. He was good to very good last season. But where his Ballon d'Or push started was that Inter game. Before he was like maybe a top 7, top 8 contention kind of player. But it was that Inter game. Everyone watched it. Everyone loved Yamal's performance in that game. And obviously went very overrated and so on, but everyone loved that performance, and that's where he got that Ballon d'Or push. That's where it started. I rarely saw people discuss it before that game, and I think that's my issue with it, because you're giving someone, I don't know, oh my God, what a performance. And I mean, what did he even do? What did he even do? I've talked about this so many times. Efficiency. I see people say, oh, you know, everyone was bad in that Barca game, but Yamal did it. Yamal pushed through. Yamal was the leader or something. And I'm like, Barca scored 6 goals across both games. Yamal was only involved in 1 out of them. You expect better from someone you're calling, oh, he led the team. He led the team. So, yeah, that's my opinions about that performance. But that's basically Yamal. Yamal has always been more pushed into this debate. I said, if Rafinha was versus Dembele, you're actually looking at a strong case. Rafinha had the most GA in the Champions League last season. Rafinha had the most tied, same goals with Guirassy. Rafinha was the La Liga player of the season. That was the strong case. But it's like Barca fans forfeited that for the Yamal thing. And it's not just Barca fans, it's everyone delusional when they see an 18-year-old stuff dribbles all of this, they just, oh my God, this dude. So it was never a fair debate, Yamal versus Ousmane Dembele. It never made any sense how you could put Yamal against Dembele. I'm still heated when the points will come out for the Ballon d'Or, how close Yamal will be to Dembele, because it was never supposed to be that close. I think Hakimi has a stronger case for the Ballon d'Or than Yamal. I think Vitinha has a stronger case for the Ballon d'Or than Yamal. And I think Rafinha has a stronger case than Yamal for the Ballon d'Or. This is one of the biggest PR pushes for the Ballon d'Or I have ever seen. I mean, when Van Dijk came really close to Messi, look at the season he had. Look at the season. Well, I think he was Champions League player of the season as well, even though Messi probably deserved it. I will never get this push. And that's why I'm happy. Obviously, we got the breaking official news now, and the Ballon d'Or will be given out in a couple of days. Just so it has to end. Just so it has to end. Because the thing that's made this big issue even bigger is that Barca fans aren't just pushing Yamal. Obviously, every club wants their player to win. They aren't just pushing Yamal. But they're also, at the same time, trying to push down Ousmane Dembélé. Obviously, they have a history with him. They don't like him, how he left them, and now he's going to win the Ballon d'Or and everything. They can't accept that. So they're just tarnishing Ousmane Dembélé, propping up Yamal. It's so dishonest. It's so dishonest. Because if Yamal had the season that Dembélé had, I don't think PSG fans would be like, yeah, would be like, yeah, fair. Maybe they don't want him to win it or something. But they would be like, yeah, fair. If Yamal wins it, he wins it. But that's where the dishonesty comes in from the Barca fans. They just cannot say yes. I mean, even Mbappe. Yes, my agenda has gone down a little bit on him and everything, but if Mbappe had the season Dembele had and led Madrid to their Champions League, it would be their 16th. Now they're first like Ousmane Dembele. I would hold my hands up and say, Mbappe did this thing. And that's for me the big circle with this. Because a lot of fans are not looking at what the player does. They're looking at who is doing it. That's why Luis Campos a couple of days ago said if Ousmane Dembele's name was Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, there would be no debate. Because that's the issue. PR has taken over the sport. People look at much more at who is doing it rather than what is he doing. If you swap out the 2 seasons, so if you give Yamal the season that Dembele had, plus the insane PR Yamal wins, he would have like a 1,000 points lead. But because it's Ousmane Dembele, it's not there. Which obviously I hate, but luckily Ousmane Dembele won the Ballon d'Or. Luckily we can live on for one more day. But I said it should never have been this close. It should have never been this tight. But this just shows how much PR affects the Ballon d'Or and all of this. That's been from my boy PSG. And celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. We're beating Marseille on Sunday and we're celebrating Ousmane Ballon d'Or on Monday. That's been from my boy PSG. And hopefully guys have enjoyed this video. And as usual, allez, 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 Paris.